son to the doctors, couldn't figure out a different way besides actually being able to cancel it. So I do apologize for that because it was very weird. Also never happened to me before. But I hope we can still get you all of the value that you wanted out of that one this time in the second instance. So we're going to talk about Gong mostly and how Gong scales digitally, scales collaboration, digitally support education, everything else through the new, or I shouldn't say new, but at least the freshly relaunched Visioneers community. But maybe Nisha, first you could introduce yourself to everyone in case they don't know.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday morning / evening, afternoon, wherever it is that you are. My name is Nisha Baxi, and I'm the head of the Visioneer community here at Gong. We made a big bet about 1.5 years ago to build a formal community at Gong. If you've been using the platform at all, you know that we kind of already had sort of this like burgeoning ecosystem, people that just loved Gong and that really wanted to share sort of all their best practices. So we really thought that having a formal community and really kind of putting it in one place would really make a big difference. So that's a little bit about me. Or about the reason why Gong, built the community. My background actually is in marketing. I sit on the leadership team in customer success. I report to our chief customer officer. So we are mostly a post-sale community for our customers. And I started off my career in consulting. Was not for me. Pivoted. Was in marketing, did a lot of community work, mostly under the guise of product marketing, developer marketing, spent 10 years doing developer marketing at Facebook and Microsoft and Salesforce and all the fun places. So, was heavily tied in with the community there. And that's it for me.
Nice. Awesome. So many things. Good, differentiated background that probably also helps setting up a community with multiple departments and everything else. But we'll get into that later. So at Gainsight, it's very custom to start everything that you do, regardless of whether or not it's a meeting or a webinar or an event or whatever. For those of you that have been at Pulse once, we also start every Pulse session with an icebreaker. So we're going to do an icebreaker now as well. What's the last thing you bought that's not food or coffee?
I bought earplugs.
Yeah.
I bought earplugs last night, actually, and it was like top of mind because it was the last thing I bought and the thing that I did right before I went to sleep. I'm a very light sleeper, so I sleep with like earplugs and eye mask. Like I pull up. Is there anyone else like that that's on the call right now? Anyone else like that where you need it like completely dark? And it's my thing. So I bought earplugs.
Is it called cocooning? I think it's called cocooning.
Is that what it is?
So.
Yeah. And have you seen those blankets that look like a cocoon that wrap up? It's like a swaddle. I just saw that recently. I don't have one, but that's definitely something I'm like, oh, I want to try that. I wonder.
You're on your Christmas list.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Awesome. I think the last thing I bought, I don't know, very boring. Probably pants.
Pants. Okay.
Pants. Everyone needs pants. Everyone needs jeans. So I think that's the last one. Okay, so let's get started with the stuff people are actually here for.
Wait, why can't we do more icebreakers? This is more fun. Talking about
if we have time at the end, we can do another.
Okay,
one.
Let's do it.
Have another good one. So give me the vision behind Visioneers. Like, what is a Visioneer and what do they mean for Gong?
Yeah, I mean, a Visioneer it doesn't necessarily have to be someone that has purchased Gong, but it's anybody that really has a visionary mindset that understands the ways that they can really, unlock potential for their own career, for their business. Someone that sort of has that foresight and is sort of marching towards that goal. And I think that's sort of where the ear came in, like a nod to pioneers. So pioneers are people that are actually taking the steps and paving the way for their community, for themselves, to see they see the better life, and they're actually sort of taking action on that. And that's why we came up with Visioneers. At Gong, we've been saying, our customers there, we call them raving fans. That's one of the things that we had been saying over and over again.
Yeah.
And we also kind of felt that was a little bit presumptuous. That's something that we as a company have to have, that humility, and we have to earn. We have to earn that title of a customer becoming a raving fan. And you're more than a customer, because the people that use Gong have this idea, they have this thought that there is a way that they can marry ideas and of how they can sort of help their sales team and their customer success team and their marketing team and just their strategy in general get to that next step. And they believe Gong is a part of that journey and that technology. So hence Visioneers. That's how Visioneers was born. And
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's very smart. So these are the people in the sales, marketing, CS departments that are basically driving change for their company.
Anyone, literally anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone your mom could be a Visioneer. If your mom is like, I see a better future, your grandparent, anyone that believes that there is, they have an opportunity to make a meaningful difference or an impact in the world, in their lives, in the future, and maybe even use technology and maybe even use Gong, they're a Visioneer. And so this really is a broader term and is really, all encompassing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also, I think in your intro just said that the Gong community started 1.5 years ago or so. It also was then more so, I think, it wasn't called Visioneers. It was called probably the Gong community or something. I don't necessarily remember exactly, but I think it was the Gong community.
That's exactly right. It used to be the Gong community. Now we're the Visioneer community.
Yeah, exactly. So was Visioneers something that already pre-existed within Gong, or is this a concept that you've developed specifically for the community now?
The latter. It's a concept that we developed, and it isn't necessarily just for the community per se. Visioneers is really sort of an umbrella term for all of our customer, programs, our customer experiences and programs. So now, this lives within inside of visioneers.gong.io if you want to take a look at it. But it actually points towards our Gong Academy, our help center. We even have our customer marketing and our advocacy program and the community. So it's the layer before community, and community, the Visioneer community sits under the Visioneers umbrella. So that's kind of the way that we think about it. Because what customer wants to go to 15 different places to find what it is that they're looking for? And we felt Incited was a really great place to have this, because we really believe, in the power and the prospect of Nucleus and tying and getting your Gainsight data, showing a personalized journey over time. Right now, it's just a really beautiful sort of landing page where everything is all in one place. We use Incited's federated search. So if anybody is looking for something, we just have one CTA, visioneers.gong.io. They go into federated search. They search what it is they're looking for, and they find it. And it doesn't necessarily need to be in the community. It can be in the academy when we use SkillJar for the academy. It can be in the help center, which we use Zendesk for a knowledge base, and that's how we're thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's unpack that a little. So besides a community, which it started as 1.5 years ago, probably Q&A, product feedback, those kinds of things, Visioneers is now becoming sort of like the central digital experience or something for Gong customers and prospects and everyone looking for information about Gong to basically find everything in one central location. That's
everything. Yes. And so the way that I explain the type of content, the type of programming, the type of incentives, everything that you would get is all the love that you would get if you were a customer, and how content. So that's the big thing, is everyone's like, what's the content should be in the community? What's marketing? What's in customer success? How does it all work together? And I think everyone's always trying to demystify it. And I have a very clear picture of what the content is and what it looks like at Gong, and what's under this Visioneers umbrella, and then what's everything else. And so the way that we think about the community, or Visioneers in general, is it's how content. It's when you're in marketing or you're in sales, you're explaining why Gong, why your brand, why your company. You're explaining what what about this is actually important and beneficial to you. But in post sales, you learn how. Okay, well, great, you've sold me, marketing team, but now how do I actually do this at my company? What buttons do I have to press in Gong to get that result that you just sold me on? And so the community is really impactful, because the community actually, in the voice of the customer, will actually show you how. Okay, well, these are the buttons that I pressed at this company. This is how I actually decided to implement MedPick at my company. And so that sort of was the way in which we thought about, pulling this all together. And then and at the same time that we launched Visioneers, we opened up all of these resources to the public. So the community was the only customer resource or program that we had that was open to the public. We opened that a year ago. And on the heels of that, we actually did see ARR influence and ARR impact pre-sales. And we thought, okay, well, given that, what if we were to open and unlock all this other amazing data to other people that aren't customers, and they could just go on Google and they could find it. And that's exactly what we're starting to see now. So part of the Visioneers launch was really, that level of transparency and that openness, and people really being able to deeply understand our product and start using and use it.
Which kind of makes sense as well, because I had the feeling, at least, that Gong had been doing this for years by sharing all of the data that you guys amassed through the tool on social and everything else, right? So
yeah, I mean, really, all of it was more of like, how do I actually use, like I was saying, those knowledge base articles, those documentation is really important, especially for developers. Okay, like you said, that I could pull the API, like, what exactly does that look like? And people want to be able to do that, to be able to find that information. And when you make your community public, it becomes a natural touch point in the sales cycle. It becomes an inbound. And so, us community managers, everyone on this call, we're all very protective of our communities, and we want to make sure that there's no prospecting and people aren't using it so that they can like deal hunt. And we have very, very strict parameters in the Gong community. But what we realize is, if we do a really good job at building amazing content and partnering, with the right community members to build out meetups and things like that, then the community sells itself and it becomes an inbound lead funnel.
Awesome. So you did just mention that you saw some ARR in a wow. I'm struggling with that word right now.
ARR influence. I know it's morning. It's early. Well, for you, it's afternoon.
Well, it's very late for me, obviously, because it's so dark here. You did mention that there was or at least ARR influenced impact from coming from the community. So how did you measure that?
Well, there are multiple different ways that you can measure that. The way that we have been doing it is, we see people that are registering in the community and when they're not customers yet. So they're registering, we see them spend time in the community, and then they become a customer after that. So we know with Google Analytics data that people that are in the community spend around 2.5 minutes in the community. And we know, and we're actually looking at some of their data, like what articles are they doing? How are they spending time? And then once they become a customer, then we count that as ARR influence, because we know it's a touch. Awesome. So, and using the rule of the old sales rule, the rule of 7, we know that any, 7 sort of engagements with your brand can lead to a sale. And so we like to think that we're one of those 7. So
it seems so simple. Like
this is simple. I
know, but this is one of the questions that I think, especially in community world, has always been the most difficult. Like, how do you tie your community efforts to the company's bottom line, basically, like everything your exact team is looking at every month or everything.
Yeah.
I think that's super smart. So definitely take note of that if you still are trying to figure that out. Yeah. We have a question from Brandon. So by the way, everyone on the call, just ask questions in Q&A or in chat, and I'll just put them into the conversation. I like that. Totally. Kind of dynamic. So Brandon is asking, at what point in your community's life did you decide to make it public?
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely something that and I just noticed Christy Fedora is on the call. Hi, Christy. We used to work together at Salesforce on Team Trailhead, actually.
Legend, yes.
Yes, living legend. Yeah, so for us, we always knew that it was going to be part of the journey. So I started Gong April 2021, launched the customer community in July, and we already had this hypothesis around, opening it up to the public. But before that, we wanted to really create an engaging customer experience. We wanted to test things out. We wanted to experiment. We wanted to have something that people could actually look at and say, okay, this is actually useful in my journey as a Visioneer. And that's why in December, we opened it up to the public. And now we have a year's worth of data points of understanding of what content, what programming. So I always say, like, a really great community has PCI, programming, content, and incentives. So like which one of those levers and what in those particular areas are actually they're finding useful and impactful, and then doing sort of more of that. But yeah, that's it was always part of the plan. And we knew that, once we did it, we'd see some really great results. And, on the heels of that, we were able to open up the our knowledge base and the academy. And if you haven't visited our academy, it's so amazing. Like, we've got some really best in class programming at academy.gong.io. We have Gong Quest, which is so fun, which is like this really cool experience. Our head of customer education, Steph Pellegrino, good friend of mine. She is such a visionary, but she's such a visionary. But she's wonderful. And, we built this Gong Quest where if people want to learn about a particular piece of content, then they engage both simultaneously in the academy and also the community. Also with our certifications, you cannot get certified as an admin or a frontline manager without participating in the community and helping create some content, sharing those experiences. So we're really doing a great job at tying those experiences, not just, connecting to each other, and these are the buttons in both places, but really actually creating programming so that you really go to both.
I love that. I'm definitely going to ask you a question about that.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
In a second. So one tiny follow-up thing to the previous question I asked is, so you've now opened everything up. Does that mean that everything is truly open to everyone within the public, or are there still sections of the community that are hidden based on roles or something else?
Yes, there are certain sections that are hidden, but we try to make them like we want them to be visible, but you have to ask to join. And then you actually are able to see that content. The reason that we do that is I wanted to create an experience where, when you go to a really cool concert, and then there's this red carpet only, a little room in the corner that everyone can see that only VIPs can get into. Yeah. And that's what we wanted to do in the community is look, if you become a customer, you get access to all these other things as well. You can see it, it's there, but we want you to be able to know that that's available to you. We still haven't been able to, there is one section that we still haven't been able to figure out how to do that. Remco, if you have an idea, would be great. We actually have a product. We have a product area within the community as well that's only for customers, for them to submit product feature requests. And by the way, here's something controversial. I don't believe in upvoting. So our product, I don't believe in that. So and I ran some tests, some early tests, and it's actually we've seen that it's more beneficial both to Gongsters, which are employees, as well as our Visioneers.
This is good feedback. I'll relay this to our product team.
Yeah. I can actually share, how we do it if that's interesting to you or anyone else.
Yeah, that's awesome. So final metrics question. So you've been able to figure out how to relate a part of what you're doing in the community to ARR. Have you also been able to figure out how to relate, for example, a part of what you're doing in the community to churn or retention or anything else?
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of, I believe very heavily and very deeply in experimentation. I come from a startup background. One of the first companies I ever worked at was a startup company with 10 people. Prior to joining Gong, I was the head of marketing and founded a marketing team at a tiny startup. Well, it's not so tiny now. It's now a Series C company, but I was there from A to B. And really, the idea is, how do we influence NDR? How do we influence some of those, if we understand that there's a customer that is up for renewal, and they are active already in the community and they're a decision maker, is there PCI, are there programs, content, incentives that we can engage them proactively in order to influence them, essentially, right? And be very clear about what that looks like. And these are the sort of the companies that we're targeting. Think of it as like ABM for community. That's what I've been telling everyone. I'm like, this is ABM community. So really kind of using my marketing brain and bringing that into the community and being super impactful around who it is that we want to target. So there's a number of different things that we're doing through that. We have a program where we do, extra welcome, extra love that we give to folks that are up for renewal, that have joined the community, people that have like very certain titles. We have 5 different vectors that we measure against. And then we take like whoever has the highest, like fits those criteria. We kind of stack rank them all. And we say, these are the 20 people that registered this week in the community that we need to spend special attention to. And then we create, an experience for them. We message them. We tell them they can schedule a meeting with us. We walk them through the community. We really want to hook them in early. So these are all my secrets, not non-secret secrets. I think it's important that, we help each other really think about how are we targeting. There's so many, and a lot of us are in really big communities. I'm thinking about Christy now, and I'm thinking about the Trailblazer community and developers, and there's just so many people that you could potentially talk to, and it's about where do you start. And so, I like to look at our data and create an experience and take a look at, okay, well, what are the 5 things that are the most important to me? And also, what is the likelihood? Like, why do I think that this person is joining the community? And then sort of just simply reaching out. And it's been working well for us. I mean, without sharing any numbers, it's been working well for us.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that's super smart. So you've brought together all digital touch points and basically created one digital experience. So how does that involve other teams at Gong to interact with the community? And then maybe also as a follow-up to that, like creating these special experiences for segmented or highlighted customers. Who does that? Is that the community team, or is it
it's us. It's us. I mean, because Insighted is the community community platform. We're really the ones that have access to the back end and make all of the ultimately turn all the buttons on and press all the things that you need to do. But really it's a team. It is a team effort. Like, we do have regular syncs with our customer marketing team, with our education and our academy team, and we're really trying to understand like what's some content that's top of mind, what are things that events, other activities that are relevant, any type of advocacy, new programs, incentives. We have Golden Gong Awards. What are things that we really want to promote at visioneers.gong.io, because now that's our one single CTA, right? That's the Gongverse, if you will. And so there is a lot of coordination, on that front. And right now it's really just, a beautiful landing page. But again, like I said, for us, the reason that we chose Insighted as being that place is because we really believe in the future of Gainsight. We really believe in the future of Insighted and Nucleus, right? This promise that someone will be able to log in and will be able to understand who they are, and will be able to serve them up their own content that is relevant to them.
Yeah.
So someone will like go to visioneers.gong.io and they have two options. There is the person who knows exactly what it is that they're looking for, and inside it has federated search and they can find it, or they have no idea what it is they're looking for, but let's give you some hints based on who you are, where you are in your journey, based on your persona, based on maybe where you live, like we can tell you, hey, come to this meetup. Hey, check out this really cool course in the academy. Hey, we can tell that you're a developer. Here's some docs that might get you started with our API.
A more personalized journey. Yeah.
Yes.
I also think it's about time that we start doing that more in community, I think.
Yeah.
Especially also maybe even in B2B, like a digital personalized journey. I think even in B2B, we need to do better there.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, definitely. So talking about journey, I think that's a nice segue. So what does a digital journey at Gong look like? Let's say I become a customer tomorrow. At what point would I get introduced to the community, and where would I continue to see it?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple entry points into Visioneers. People are organically searching it and they find it through Google. We have a dedicated space within the product. So if people are like looking for something, we have like Visioneer resources and people will find Visioneers. We also have it on our webpage as well. It's also part of onboarding. So people, our CSMs and our implementation managers, they all know to share it. And that's why we've had, tens of thousands of people, come to the community. And not everyone registers, but we have almost 4,000 people registered.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Quite a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you've got people registered and they've gone onto the community once and did some cool stuff. But then obviously you need to keep them engaged. I think it's often said in community that a community is only as great as its content. So how do you keep bringing the right new innovative content to the community to keep people engaged and keep them coming back, let's say every week or something? I don't know how often you want people to come back.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is really understanding what is top of mind for our customers. So I'll share a couple of different vectors that we pull. One of them is like support tickets, and that's why we have something called support tip of the week. We take a look at all of the data from all of our support tickets that come in the week, and we say, oh my gosh, what everyone is somehow asking all these questions about this one particular topic. So we, as Gong employees, will proactively share that information. And sometimes they're just hot topics that people will talk about in the community. People will say, hey, like, I'm trying to like roll out, MedPick at my company, and there's a lot of like change management. And is there someone that is out there that can help me kind of figure that out and has done it effectively? And people will get involved. And what we like to do is help that by tagging the right people and knowing who they are. Other ways that we figure out the type of content is by listening to people at different meetups. So we have two. I was very ambitious actually early, about a year ago when I launched the community, and I said, we're going to have 10 meetups by the end of the year. 10, we need 10. It's going to be amazing. And what I realized is, and the old adage, like quality over quantity, and also don't be selfish. Like if this is the community, like it should be led by the community. They should be the ones who tell you what it is that they want to run. Otherwise, then it's marketing. Then you're doing marketing. If you're the one who's setting up the meetups and you're driving demand and you're getting people to show up, you're doing marketing. You're not doing community. Community is facilitating community member to community member engagement. So I'm going a little bit on a tangent here, but I promise I'm getting to the point. But so I tend to do that, but it's just
no worries. We'll indulge you.
Yeah. So, I actually met this woman and she was just amazing, amazingly active, just wonderful head of sales. And I had asked her, hey, like, would you consider, running this head of sales meetup? I have this really great idea and I think it would be great. She's like, well, actually I met my best friend, in the Gong community, and we want to talk about the challenges that women in revenue face, that women in sales face. And we'd love to start that meetup. And that is by far our most popular meetup. It is basically self-organized and run. We don't really spend much time on it. It's really all about, what it is that they want to talk about, what's top of mind for them. And, when we go to these meetups, we also have a data meetup that's very similar to the Women in Revenue meetup, and how it was born it was the community members' idea, and they're really excited about it and they wanted to run it. And you go to those meetups and you hear from the voice of the customer what it is that they care about, what it is that their pain points, what it is that they want to learn. And then that's how you think about content. And then you have all these community members who are like, we want to do more. Tell us what would be helpful. How can we get more involved? And we say, well, here we've got a list of things like that people are asking for. And so it's really just about marrying what it is that people are asking for and content that they're really craving. And then also, the people that want to be part of the community. And then that's where the I comes in, incentivizing them as well.
Yeah. So in the case of the meetup that you just mentioned, is that something that you would incentivize, or is it just something that's run by someone? And also, how involved would you, from a Gong perspective, still have to be within that meetup?
I think we probably spend half an hour a month organizing those meetups. It's really about the community members doing that. It's very fully self-organized. The way that we have it set up is we have something at Gong called a Gong pod. I just made up this model in my mind, but basically you need 2 community members, 2 employees, so 2 Gongsters, and then an executive sponsor to basically run this meetup. So this is the pod that will make sure that this meetup is successful. So it's run by the 2 community members if they need help. So they're the captains. And then they're like co-captains or advisors, stewards, board members, whatever is the Gong piece of it, the executive sponsor. And then also the two Gongsters who will help them, be if they have any questions or they want to get feedback on, maybe they want to do an AMA and there's a speaker and they know that this person has a connection to them, then that's how they would like leverage something like that. So pod model, it works. It really does.
I also think it's a great model. It's super simple, but I think it's a great model. Yeah, this also, like we mentioned Christy before, I got the chance to actually speak to her on stage at Pulse, and she also had an entire story about how self-organizing the Salesforce Trailblazer community is. I even mentioned that sometimes Salesforce is not even muted on some of the calls.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's great, right? Because community always has this air of it's a lot of work. You need to like do everything yourself and then engage people. And if they're not engaged, you need to be the person that reminds them every week, like those kinds of things. And you don't hear these types of stories, I think, often enough.
Yeah. So that's what you want to do is if you're going to run a meetup, like wait until that happens. I'm seeing a lot of questions about the alternative to upvoting. So I think we should address that. Just because it's
one question, because that's also a question that relates to this. So how big is the community team or the team that supports the community actually?
Ooh, I want people to guess. How many people are in the community team at Gong? This is a fun one.
Put your answer in the chat.
Put your answer in the chat. Like, we need at least 3 votes. I want 3 people to make a guess.
We need 3 guesses in the chat. How many people? Okay, we have 3 from Lindsay, 5 from Brandon, and 4 from Peyton.
Okay, all right, that's good. Wow, okay, lots of numbers. 6, 4, okay. 6, Brigitte. Oh my gosh, we've got a comedian. All right, so we actually have 2.
2, including you or excluding you?
Yes, and this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted people to think that our community team is bigger than it is. Because if you use the community right, you can run as lean as possible for as long as possible and as flat as possible for as long as possible. And that's really the power of community. It does take time though. So, and especially in an economic environment like this, if you have such big community teams, then people are asking more and more, like, what are you contributing to the business? Then you feel like, oh, I need to be doing more. Then you end up doing things that are not actually community, that might actually be marketing. and it's fine if you're in the marketing team, by the way. Like, I have nothing against marketing. That's what my degree is, and I did for years and years. But then you kind of lose that like authenticity and that sort of intrinsic value. So by the way, our academy and our education team is totally separate. So the way that our structure is we have our post sales, our customer success team. We have 180 people in our customer success team. We have 5 different departments in customer success. And the department heads all report to our chief customer officer. So community is one of them. So that's me. We have the education and training team, support, professional services, and then customer success. So like the actual, like the folks who manage the CSM. So those are the functions that roll up into customer success. So that's also very helpful that we have a seat at the table, that I'm part of our senior leadership team in customer success. And there's a lot of emphasis and on what it is that we're doing and how that we can actually use the community to drive scale and deeper adoption and product stickiness and all that fun stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a wild suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah, very wild. Given that there are so many questions currently in Q&A, let's just turn this, like, I have this whole thing prepped, but let's just turn this into a community.
Yeah, I want to answer people's questions. Like, forget about
it. Let's make this into a community webinar. Let's just do it. Okay, we can start with the upvoting. People are very curious why you hate upvoting.
Okay. I find that whenever you say something really controversial and then you leave it, people are like, tell me what it is, why? So I have this theory and this hypothesis that upvoting is not as, while it's fun and people are used to seeing that functionality, and Insight offers it, and it's a great functionality to use if it works for you and your team. I find that you lack the level of detail and the visibility into who it is. Why is it that they're upvoting? What is the reason why they want this particular feature? How will it impact their business? And I feel like I lack that qualitative, that depth of data. And a lot of times, and how many times have we seen forums where people have upvoted 100, 200, 300 times, and then nothing happens. And then everyone's like, there's an uprising. How dare you not address my 300 upvotes, right? And there's a reason for that as well from the product side. So what we've done is basically create a simple form that is first of all, tell us who you are. Like, who are you? What's your role? What company do you work for? Just unlocking that very rudimentary, fundamental data. And like, what feature are you asking? Why are you asking for it? Any other suggestions? Anything that you want to upload? And I remember when I first joined Gong and I shared my feelings about upvoting, a lot of people were like, what? But that's like the point of community. Community is so cool. Like, everyone wants to do this voting thing. And I said, let's do this. Let's experiment. Let's try it this way for 30 days, like for 45 days. I forget the window, but it wasn't super long. And I said, let's get that data and then let's circle back and let's see how it worked out. And it was amazing. People were writing paragraphs of what they want, why they want it. I mean, the rich content and data that the product team could actually do something with. And they loved it. The product team loved it. Actually, people that are really passionate about something, it's very cathartic for them to just be like, Gong, these are all the reasons why I want this thing. Gong, I have this really amazing idea. That's why people journal.
You're saying it actually helps the health score.
It helps everything. Literally every vector, every data that I've pulled that shows whether or not this is useful, it's been helpful. It's even helped our support team because people were logging feature requests. Here, you want a quick win, an easy way to save your company money. You can tell the support team they have feedback, feature requests, send them to the community and have it go through the community so that you're not logging it separately and wasting support people's time and case dollars on that. So like, that's probably the easiest way that we've been able to show that we've saved money, is just like, people just go to the community now. And so we've had hundreds and hundreds of feature requests. Our chief product officer and co-founder, Elon Reshif, literally loves it, goes in it and like reads it. And then for that entire feedback loop to happen is every month we have our product, we call it product buzz, but we have our new, our release. And we will write a post in the community. This is just in the product section. If you're not a customer, you can't see it because this is what I was telling Remco is actually closed. But if you're in the community, then we will say, this is the new feature. Thank you to our community members who have inspired this feature. We tag them in the community, and the people that are not in the community, we literally send them an email and their managers an email. And we say, you are so amazing for coming up with this really awesome idea. Just wanted you to know, and your manager, because of you, this exists. And people love it. And so that's also how we've been able to get more people in the community. So that's
that is the perfect way of closing the loop.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Does that answer everyone's question around what we do? Does anyone like it? Is anyone thinking about adopting that now? maybe considering it.
We're going to find out. In the meantime, there's a bunch of questions around launch and launch strategy. So, for example, there's this question from Lindsay. She's in the process, or they just launched their first academy and is now in the process of launching an ideation section for community. And then there's a whole story that I won't read out loud entirely, but basically the question is, do you have an opinion about the amount of posts, engagement, content that needs to pre-exist before you push like the new round of new members in, to avoid the risk of them thinking like, okay, there's not much here, so let's not return?
No, I mean, I think you have to have some, like, I mean, to launch the community, you have to have, and Insight actually did a really great job kind of guiding me with this early on in the implementation journey. But like, you have to have some MVP level of content. You need to have at least, 3 pieces of content in every section. That was sort of the rule of thumb that I used. I also kind of understood who would benefit from each of those different sections. And by the way, like, one of the strategies that I have internally, externally, there's a lot of pre-alignment that happens. I did not launch the community and I was like, I hope people come to my birthday party, my launch party. I already knew that there would be people there because I had already preempted people. And I had preempted by doing the following. So when I started the community, I interviewed, I basically pulled a bunch of data and found who are our top 100 customers. And I looked at that by who is already engaged in the academy, how many people are putting in support tickets, who are people that are coming to our events, who are folks that have been nominated by CSMs. I asked CSMs to nominate, who are people by top ARR, who are people that are writing G2 reviews. Like I looked at everything. And how many times are people going into the product? Like, I pulled all that data, and then I basically came up with this list of 100 people. I asked them to be part of the journey. Like, can I just interview you for 15 minutes and understand what it is that you want in the community? So I knew the sections I was going to create. I knew the programs I was going to create. That's why we have Meets our one-on-one matching program, because it was the #1 feature that everyone said that they wanted. I did all of these different things, and I asked them what it is that you wanted. So then I listened to them, and I had everybody at Gong agree, okay, well, there's a list of things Insight can do. There's a list of things that you want, and then there's a list of things that our Visioneers want. Do you agree that we should be listening to what it is that our Visioneers want? And everyone said, well, yeah, like, why would we do anything else? Okay, cool. I'm glad that we're all on the same page with that. So that's what I built. And so then 2 weeks before the actual launch, I said, okay, like, community founders, because you're the ones that helped me, come up with what the community would look like. You get to be part of like the soft launch, spend 2 weeks in advance. So we had like an AMA with our head of sales enablement. We tested some of that in the community. We had some early meetsies. We already had some people asking questions. And then when it came time to launch, when we launched at Celebrate in July, and I know that there are some schools of thought, and I know Eric and Brian have a great podcast episode where they talk about how, they don't like launching anything big events, but we needed that. We had no other way for people to learn all at one time besides sending out an email, but how many hundreds of emails do people get from vendors that don't read, And so we just said, okay, like we want to be part of this. So we launched it. And when people joined, when the thousands of people joined, there was already people having conversations. They were already in groups. There was already, everything was set up. So there's a lot of pre-alignment that happens. And then people are like, wow, there's like already this community that's doing the things. And that was all like orchestrated, over time.
Awesome. So I think also the main lesson to take from that is that you need to actually work with your existing community or customer base, or within your existing customer base, to also help you get set up. Like if you're approaching this from the perspective that in your case, a 2-person team needs to do all this for the community, you're going to lose. Like it's going to be a lot of work to do before a launch. So Lindsay, I hope that answers your question. Elizabeth, I also hope that answers your question, because you asked for the biggest lesson.
I did this by myself, by the way, just to tell everyone. I did this alone. We didn't have another person. I launched the community alone. It took a lot of time and a lot of effort, but there was a lot of it took 100 Gongsters. 100 people helped me within the company to launch this. I did not do this alone.
Also, I love that you know the number.
Yes, I because I made a huge like Star Wars thank you video to all of them, and I sent it to the whole company. And that was 20% of the company at the time. I joined a Gong around employee 500. And also I want to address our own, like when you have 10,000 users, having them fill out a survey and reviewing each is not scaled.
Being critical.
I think that And so actually what I said was, take a look at who are the top people, who are the people that you want to emulate, who do you want to see more of? And I would actually suggest you doing an audit. So if you already have a community, that's awesome. So just resurvey them. Say, okay, these are 100 people. These are some folks that I think are amazing, like maybe 10 people. Ask to set up a 15-minute with each of those people. And then the rest of the 100 people, send them a survey. And then for filling out the survey, send them something. We always send people socks. And I always say, I send them a note, socks for your thoughts. And we send them socks. Feel free to use it. So
everybody loves socks.
Yeah.
A big question actually from Brittany that I think we should cover is, hi Nisha, can you explain your approach or strategy to gamification? So how do you make it feel exciting and competitive without making it feel like homework to be as active as possible in the community?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think this is something that I'm still trying to figure out how to. I'm a little torn on our gamification strategy. I think that right now, we just have like a simple point system, but we also have ways that we incentivize people within the academy. Our customer advocacy also has a point system, and they have their own incentives as well. So I'm actually working with those heads of those departments to kind of pull together a more like one customer incentivization sort of strategy. Like that's a really big thing that we're going to take on. When you're a customer of a platform, you look at yourself as I'm a user of this thing. Like you don't say, oh, well, I'm in this thing and I'm in this thing and I'm in this thing. It's all one thing. And that's why Visioneers was born, is because we wanted it to be that way. I will share the incentivization that we have done that is the most useful are things that are intangible, are things that no one else can give but you, and actually costs no money at all. And I'll share something that we did. I'll share with you a recent campaign. One of the things that I wanted to do was unlock more how content from the community around how they were using Gong in a unique way.
Yeah.
And we created a campaign called My Gong Secret. So hashtag My Gong Secret. And I asked our community, can you share how you're using Gong, and write in exactly what it, your role, what it is that you do, how it's helped you. And like, there's no other place in the world where you can nerd out about Gong. Like no one cares if you talk about it on LinkedIn. It's not important to them. But you do that. And then we would enter them in a raffle, and the person who, the winner would get 30 minutes with our CEO. And that was really exciting. People loved the idea of that. And we actually didn't even share that with our entire customer base. This was just people that had registered in the community, not even just people that have visited. We've had, thousands and thousands, way more people visit the community than have actually registered. And those folks, weren't even, invited to share. I mean, they could if they wanted, but they wouldn't have known about it. And so that's what we did. So that was a really great incentivization strategy, especially in a time like this. You have to start thinking creatively and scrappy around, can't give an iPad away. Actually, you know what? Here's a good experiment. I did do that.
You did give an iPad.
I tried literally when I launched the community, I was like, share your best practice. The best person will get an iPad. Nobody wants an iPad. Everybody already has an iPad. It's not exciting to them, right? No one is. And I knew that from all of my years in developer marketing. I knew this from all my years. I knew that wasn't going to work, but I needed something. And I was like, I'm going to try this thing. It didn't work, but farming out 30 minutes of a meets time, everyone was excited. And we have such amazing content from them that our CSMs use all the time now.
I love that. Very smart. So talk to your CEO, make sure that they have 30 minutes somewhere in their calendar, and then
if you're Remco, Nick Mehta, everyone wants to meet Nick. Nick will for sure meet with you. Nick is like, anything for the community.
Nick will meet with anyone that sends him a private message. I don't know how he does it, but he will. Thank you for that question, Brittany. Definitely an important part of community. Then we also have a cool question from Hannah, and she's asking, what other analytics do you look at within the community? Like, how do you gauge community health or other types of things?
Well, anyone that knows me knows this is like my favorite question to address. And so Gong has adapted the Spaces model, which I did not create. So please don't think that I'm a genius. I always say that, like, Spaces, we use Spaces, and Spaces stands for support product acquisition, content engagement, and success. And there are KPIs that track with each of them. So I shared with support, and typically people will look at case deflection. There's a number of different ways that you can report this, but I also get to look at how many people are submitting product feedback requests in the community instead of support. Like, I can actually see the number of people. I can actually track that. There's how many product feature requests are we getting? How many of those actually turned into actual features? So that's really interesting. We even now have a group for design partners, people that have raised their hand and they're like, as you're building, can you please let me know if you need any feedback? We want to give feedback. We have dozens and dozens of people in that group, almost 100 people in that group now. And so we look at that. Acquisition, I shared with you ARR influence, how we're thinking about people registering and then becoming a customer. Content, how many pieces of user generated content are we getting? That's really important. That's the most important, is that authenticity piece of it. You can just say all the things that you want, as a company, but then this just becomes another marketing channel. I mean, it is a channel, but that's not the purpose of it. But, kind of tracking that. Engagement, how many people are talking to each other, how many people are coming back. That's super important. I care about that. I'm looking at our funnel and I'm like, okay, we see that if people come through 2 times, that they're going to come back. They're going to come back, once every 2 weeks. They just always do. People have it, or at least once a week, like it's in their rhythm. But how do we get people to come back a second time? So that's something that we are always kind of looking at, sort of that funnel. How do we just sort of increase engagement? And in particular personas too, right? We're tracking which personas, which levels, what's the most exciting for them? Are we creating content for those people? Really just thinking strategically and focusing on impact. And so this is probably an entire other webinar before I go into success.
Offering, sure.
Yeah, always. But at any given time, basically the community is always running 2 major programs. One is called ARR Gold Rush, and the other one is called NDR Moneyball. I am constantly tracking and creating programs, and I have levers where I'm constantly tracking are how much influence and impact, and we're building out a deeper strategy now with the ops team around how much the community is actually bringing in pre-sales. And then NDR Moneyball is that we have an idea of who we believe is spending, decision makers that are spending a lot of time in the community, and how can we actually use, like, a nod from the movie Moneyball, how do we actually focus in on them and create experiences for them so that they actually renew come renewal time, and using PCI. So yeah, Gong is doing AR Gold Rush and NDR Moneyball. Like, we're always doing that. We're always thinking about that. And that's part of success. And that's the essence success is, really thinking about churn reduction and renewal, and all of that. So that's our Spaces model. You can actually find it by Ron and I, our Chief Customer Officer. We actually spoke on the closing keynote at Gainsight Pulse this August. So there's actually a slide in that, and that keynote's available to everyone. So you can actually see the KPIs if you could. But yeah.
Good call out. It's somewhere on the Pulse website. I don't have the link ready now.
Becky just put it on. Yeah. Hi, Becky.
Oh,
I love Becky. She's my favorite.
Pretty sure Becky loves you too. So a quick question from Lisa. Do you have shared analytics resources or a team to help you see these correlations? But you mentioned an ops team, so I guess.
Yes. Yeah. So, the reason why I don't think that there should be, I guess it depends. Every organization is different, but we have a shared ops resources in CS. I actually tap our marketing ops team a lot as well. So we have a go-to-market ops team, and they all work together. And there's probably like 30 of them for the 20 of them at the company. And they will help me pull a lot of this data, but I pull most of the data myself, and I'll just ask them to kind of review it. We use Salesforce, so we use the Salesforce integration with Insighted, and that's really helpful in understanding who's in the community, what role they're at, and all of that, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Okay, and then I think we have time for one more question, sadly. So if we missed any of the other questions, I can make sure that we follow up on them, maybe in the follow-up email for the webinar or something. I'll just ask Nisha if she wants to spend some time on answering some more questions. But let's do it. Mark is asking, how did you position the community during the sales cycle? How do you make the community less technically role-focused and more business-driven, serving different audience? I actually think these are two questions. So one, how do you position do you already position the community during the sales cycle?
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It just depends. Our team keeps getting bigger and bigger. So the people that when we launched knew about it, but there's always new people. And so I'm actually part of new hire onboarding. So everybody has to go through a 45-minute session with me on what the community is. So every new person knows about the community and is adequately trained up.
Awesome. I think, by the way, that's something that people can already copy. Very important to make your community more visible internally. Yep. And then his final part of the question was, how do you make the community less technically role-focused and more business-driven, serving different audiences?
You have to build the community in a way that serves the people that you want to be served, right? So I think if there is a technical part of the community, and like Salesforce actually does this really nicely, is they have groups, right? Like there's a group for admins, there's a group for developers, like the more technical people. And then there's the group for just other folks that want to just engage and that are interested in very particular topics and that are interest-based. So make a space for that within the community. Or if there are people that are, you want to emulate in the community, just talk to them, call them up, be like, Socks for your thoughts. Yeah. Like, tell me what it is that you want to see. What can I build for you? Because you're awesome and you've done some amazing things and I want more people like you to engage. How can I do that?
Yeah, I love that. Cool. I think we're at time. I did see that Hannah is actually saying, thank you for sharing. Would love to have another webinar about tracking and analytics.
Yeah, well, sure.
Maybe. We can see what we can do.
Can I answer Savannah's question?
Oh, before?
Yeah. Sure. So Savannah, I have another contrarian perspective on this. I like to focus on people that I know care about the community. So I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to turn people that are not interested in the community. I care if you don't know about it. There's an awareness gap. But if you know about it and you're not finding it interesting, then maybe it's not a good fit for you, because we don't have the right, we're not doing a good job with like content or anything. Like, that's something that we need to work on. But more than that, I like engaging people that are already active, because those are the people that will tell. If people have a good experience, they tell more people, right? That's sort of the network effect. So I think especially in the early days, it's more about focusing on the people, because people might be interested in something but not super interested in, and they don't want to be marketed to like join the community. But if there are people that are interested and they have a great time and they learn a lot, they'll tell other people. Trust the process. You got this.
Trust the process. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a great way, or a great line to end upon. Trust the process. So first of all, Nisha, thank you so much for spending an hour with us and sharing so many different insights. I'm very sorry we completely went off script, but
no, that's better.
Actually a lot better. And also thank you for wanting to get on for a second time to do this. I actually thought it was super valuable and I loved it. And then thank you to, you're just answering questions in the chat still.
Yeah. There.
Thank you everyone else for attending. I hope this answered most of your questions. As said, I will go through the Q&A and see which questions we didn't cover, and see if we can cover them still. If you have any other questions, I'm pretty sure you can just reach Nisha, and you can just go to LinkedIn.
Yeah, that would be,
or something like that.
I am a little behind on my LinkedIn correspondence, but I'm trying. By the way, if anyone has like a great LinkedIn messaging, like zero inbox strategy, please like let me know, because I'm like, I don't know how to organize. I want superhuman for LinkedIn. I don't know how to do it.
Can I latch on to that? I also want to know.
I need help. Yeah.
Okay, so help us, please.
Please.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye. Have a great day.
Thank you.